Hey guys, I'm thinking of doing one of these vertical wallpapers, and the reason is because do I have my microphone on? Anyway, just let me know in the chat if my voice settings are off. Actually, I'm gonna repeat that later since nobody's here. Yeah, I'm gonna just start. For this, I'm going to be using Bear Brush. Bear Brush is one of those brushes that might look quite intimidating because the silhouette looks like it has this sort of like notches at the sides, but the preview doesn't always reflect what the actual brush looks like. So if you look at this brush stroke, it looks very different than the preview in my brush set. I can't control the way the previews look, so I recommend just trying it. But the cool thing about Bear Brush is that it's perfect for this sort of like color blocking in and doodling, because if you paint on the same layer, you can blend the layers by just lightly pressing the stylus sideways. By the way, in this stream I'm doing something differently because I've noticed that often there are these like thumps that happen in the microphone, and I literally don't know where they are coming from. Obviously the microphone is so sensitive that even a small nudge will sound very loud on it. So now I have put the microphone on a piece of cloth, and also this tablet that I'm painting on. Whoa. It's also on a piece of cloth. Actually, I should have probably done this whole thing vertical. No, that doesn't make any sense. And I will be zooming in later, so. So the piece of cloth is to dampen any sort of like harsh clunks, I hope. But I don't know if it works. Maybe the only way to truly get rid of them is to have this microphone actually on this boom stand that I have behind me, hanging in the air so that it's completely detached from the table. I just love this phase of painting. I mean, I wish I could just do this and call them finished pieces because it would be the best thing ever. I mean, look at these. I just love these brush strokes. Hey everyone, I see that the angry mob is gathering around. It's Independence Day here in Finland, so I guess that's why I wanted to start with this color palette. Even though this isn't my favorite color palette, this palette is called Finnish Summer, and it's inspired by old Finnish landscape paintings. Because it's so limited that it kind of like restricts what the topic is. Actually, in this blocking phase, I want to see the whole canvas so that I can plan something. So the whole point of this painting is, since I am doing this Mikko, think I'm doing this phone wallpaper series, and when I started doing it, I realized that a lot of my paintings are in the aspect ratio of 1:1 or horizontal, because they are made for YouTube mostly. So they don't really work in this sort of vertical format. So I took it upon myself for some weird reason to make this sort of, I'm gonna actually show you, this sort of like extended versions. So if you see or remember any of these paintings, this doesn't actually have this upper part or lower part in the actual painting, but I have just like extended them by hand. And I think it's an interesting way to see what is beyond the edges of these paintings, and that way I can sort of like make wallpaper versions where I can still have the detail in there without cropping too much out and still make it fit for phone. So I have tested all of them for myself, and the current one, actually I'm gonna clear all of these notifications. I don't know if I can get this in focus, but this is the first one that I did, and it's now my wallpaper, and I have added that upper part for it. And that piece is called Nara, if I remember correctly. The size of the canvas is double the size of this phone, and this is the phone that I took as a measuring kind of stick for all of the rest of the wallpapers, since the iPhone 12 Max is now the largest resolution of iPhones. So I thought that if I just use those measurements, then all of the others will fit in them, even though they are in different aspect ratios. So this is double just for painting reasons, because then I can get more detail in. I just noticed that my brain completely got distracted from the painting, explaining all that. Now I have to focus on what the hell am I doing with this piece. Somebody's asking, can I download the picture at the end? All of my live streams, I always do some color edits after the stream is over, because I need like an extra day or at least 2 hours before doing the color edits, just so that I have some distance of time to do the proper color edits. But this is for my shop for the wallpaper back set that I'm doing. It's going to be 20 wallpapers, I think, if I can get all of them done. It's a lot of work, since all of them require quite a lot of painting. But there are free wallpapers on my Twitter feed. I have added quite a few over the years, and they are still there. So if you want a free wallpaper, those also exist. But I just wanted to have like this full set for Gumroad, because Twitter always has the compression and stuff, so it's for those few people. I don't know if anybody actually wants this. At least I will have wallpapers that at least I will have wallpapers that I can use for myself at the end of this. I'm trying to stay optimistic. Otherwise, it won't be finished ever. I think I have now about 7 done. It's kind of tricky trying to get my own projects done in between working on different projects that I've been commissioned to do and taking care of Vivi at the same time, because when I was planning this live stream, it always has to happen at the exact right time when Vivi can be quiet for a while and have a nap. I don't know if this is the right time, but I just have to guess at some point if she might like to take a nap or something. Please, God. Somebody's asking, do you use multiple brushes? No, the brush that I'm using for this is a bare brush from my brush set. I tend to use only one brush. That's just a personal choice. I think it makes me focus on the brush strokes and brush rhythm. And I just like that look more. I think it looks more like it was made by me and not some sort of like stamp generator. I think it's somebody is saying, Lina is saying, can I see a whale's tail? I think it's too early to guess what this is. Waldy Hans is saying, this is my first time watching you live, so hello, hi. I hope I don't disappoint. I try not to think about such things when I'm painting live. Just getting an idea out on a canvas while other people are watching, it's always difficult. I don't actually need to use all these layers, they are just safety nets for now to try different composition ideas. So if this sort of like blocking in doesn't work, then I can just get rid of it. Or if I just want to transform it around, then it's easier because it's separate object. This is the most fun thing about this brush, mixing the colors. It kind of like forces the perfectionism out of me. But I like that texture. Terracon is asking, do you have a picture in your mind of what you want to make when you paint, or just a crude concept and just go with the flow? For this, I have an aspect ratio, and that kind of like limits my options for this piece, because no matter what happens, I cannot change the aspect ratio. So I think of these limitations as these sort of like bargaining chips with my creativity. If I put too many boundaries around it, then I think the creative ideas will just say that like, okay, if we can't play, then there's nothing we can do with this. So you can't take away all of the toys of creativity. You kind of have to let it do its own thing as well. So whenever I can leave a bit of like leeway for random things to happen, then I try to do that. I think the camera is a bit high. At this point, I kind of feel like it's very close-up shots of these very thin trees in the foreground, and I'm just painting in the sky instead of like putting in a gradient, because I like this texture so much that I just want it to be part of the actual painting. I think I want to do more desaturated tones here near the horizon. So maybe I can contrast that with silhouettes of these tree lines in the bottom part of the corner, in the bottom part of the painting. And those tree lines can be a bit more saturated blue, or at least look saturated in comparison. It's everything about color is relative, so nothing looks saturated if everything looks saturated. I think the hardest part in paintings like these are always finding those like very small changes in hue in the distance. Even though you don't want people to be paying attention there, those are the hardest colors to choose, because they have to convey so much information with just hue. I was thinking about this perception that a lot of my commenters seem to have, that a lot of my paintings have a lot of details, but I think it's more that I do a lot of illusion of detail, because that's the thing that I'm focused on in pretty much every one of my paintings. It's not that I go in and paint every eyelash, but I do a lot of like actual squinting when I'm painting, because I just want to see what it looks like from very far away. So that's what matters way more. I think if you zoom in too much, it's the same thing as like painting a canvas. If you're standing too close all the time, you kind of like lose the track of the impression the painting is going to make to somebody that sees it for the first time. I just changed my eraser to the same brush as my painting brush, just to keep the textures consistent. If this was on the background, I wouldn't be using an eraser at all, I would just paint over it. I'm not trying to tell anybody here how to paint, but like in my own personal experience, whenever I can use a brush instead of an eraser, it's always, for me and for my style, it's always the better option. Because a brush creates texture, eraser takes away the texture. Well, no, I actually changed into a brush instead of an eraser. I hate it when that happens. AM in Australia. Oh my god. Go to sleep. This will be online after it's done. Unless I completely screw up, then you will know that something terrible happened with this painting. But so far all of my live streams have been posted on my channel afterwards. They are all in the live streams playlist. Right now I'm thinking about how to organize the brush strokes, since I found that there is this sort of like logic to how I have painted them thus far. So there are those vertical strokes in the background, which kind of pull in the least amount of attention. But then here in the top corner, I think I have the most active area with all of these organic lines. So I think I could restrict the use of these sort of brush strokes to here. And maybe have this sort of like rolling sculptural lines in the bottom half. So that the brushstroke is actually describing the form and volume of the surface. I just read T of the Sea's comment, but like it feels weird reading such compliments out loud. It's like I'm complimenting myself live, and I'm Finnish. We're not supposed to say anything good about ourselves. So since it's the Finnish Independence Day, I think we can learn something about Finnish culture here. So me having a YouTube channel is a very unfinished thing also to do, because part of Finnish culture is this, you're not supposed to be seen or make a big fuss about yourself. And especially me having this channel in English is like, sometimes I get a lot of these like very hateful Finnish comments that like, who do you think you are? You should be doing this channel in Finnish. I would have an audience of 5, by the way, if I did that. And yeah, sometimes I do feel that sort of like pressure, knowing that I'm doing something that is not really part of the Finnish culture. We have a lot of YouTubers. It's kind of a new thing, but they're all Finnish mostly. Oh, I was supposed to hit mask. So mask, then invert, and then I want to have only those very highlights of those trees, kind of like this. And it's doing the thing that I wanted it to do. I love it when like an idea works. No, this is wrong. So I want to do Gaussian blur, and then just find something that works with this. Sometimes these trees look very, very red when the light hits them in the right way. Actually, I'm trying to adjust now the wrong layer. So I don't want to go too overboard with the contrast and brightness yet, because that would leave me no editing room, and that's like the most important thing for me when painting. Always leave editing room. Never go to black or white or full saturation in this phase, ever. And this, I would say, that should apply to everyone. Like, this is actually advice that I would tell to anybody painting in any style. It's so easy to like add saturation later, but decreasing saturation always kills the color and brings in these sort of like ugly dull tones that you can tell that the color was like dulled down later, and the mid-tones, they will kind of give away that type of editing, and it just looks like the color has been strangled. It kind of has the same effect that if you have ever used oil colors and then you use a very thin layer, like very thin non-oily oil paint, and then you paint it on the canvas and you kind of like scrape it into the canvas, and when it dries, the color dies. This chair is so creaky, I'm sorry. I'm trying not to move. What brush is close in Procreate to the one you're using? I don't know of any brush that does this sort of blending thing. But there are really good Procreate brushes that are already in Procreate that are completely free. I have made this video called my favorite brushes in Procreate, and it has a lot of my favorite brushes that I have used for many paintings. I highly recommend that. And there are some comments that have informed me that, like, after I made that video, Procreate sometimes like changes the selection of the brushes. So all of those brushes are not in Procreate anymore. But that doesn't matter. Like, that whole video contains so many brushes that if you can't find any of those usable, then you're just trying to search for something that is not as important as you think. Brushes are just tools after all. So I would highly recommend not focusing too much on them. Always when people ask me about my brushes or my brush set, I always specifically advise those people not to buy my brush set because they are focusing on the wrong thing at this point. My brush set is not going to make you a better painter, definitely. So, and thinking that way will only make the process of learning that much more frustrating. I want to find like a green tone that isn't overpowering in this area, but I'm not sure if it's actual green that I'm looking for or just like illusion of green. I'm gonna try and use this yellow and maybe see if I can find something there. Also, some people ask for an oriental brush, which I have advised in some of my painting videos, but that you can download from my Gumroad. That is in the link below, and that is 100% free. Just put a 0 in the price box and then you can download it. That's better than what oriental brush was. So that is the closest to what oriental brush was, but it's better for painting sharper forms as well, and it has this sort of like blending effect that is great for when you use it in this sort of like smudge mode. And it's the only brush that I recommend trying to use with smudge mode, but don't go overboard with smudge. I don't want anybody saying that Mikko told me to use this much. Only with caution. And only for something like fog or clouds. If you use it for something else, then you're on your own. Claudia is saying hello from New York City. I miss New York. I think I would have enjoyed my visit to New York a bit more had I visited more of the places that I am now aware of. I just didn't find out enough, and I just wandered around basically, and I don't think New York is a great place for that. I loved painting in the New York Public Library, but I should have just opened TripAdvisor or something, do more touristy type of things. Because when you're just wandering around, you can't even stand on the street because there are these sort of like don't stand around here signs everywhere, which I found was weird. But it's such a busy town that It's not really great for random walking for a tourist. I think Brooklyn was nice for that purpose. It fits a lazy tourist like me. Okay, I want to try those sort of like peach tones that I have in the palette. I don't know if I'm gonna use them, but I'm gonna try. By the way, I have said in one of the emails that I sent to Procreate that also in my previous stream I discussed this topic, that next time that I have any sort of like conversation with Procreate, that I'm going to suggest them that can you please let me make one of my brushes for your next update for free. And I don't know if they're gonna hate me for this, but I suggested it and they didn't at least like directly shoot me down. I said that I will do it for free. I'm not gonna ask anything in return. I would just like to do one of my brushes because I think I have done them for so many years now that they are something that I am proud of, and I think it would be really cool to just tell people that like they can use one of those things for free. Since on my channel and on my Instagram feed, it's one of those questions that comes up again and again. But that would be so cool. I hope they do it. But then again, like it's such a long shot that I'm not gonna hold my breath for it. I think it looks fittingly finished for the day. Sorry that I'm tilting the canvas all the time, but like I won't be able to make a straight line to save my life, so I'm gonna need to do this sideways. Even if I'm drawing a horizon line with pencils, I'm gonna take out the ruler because I don't trust myself. For a landscape painting, this horizon is quite high up, but I always try to use this sort of like 50-50 rule, that I recommend to, no matter what you're doing, that you are going to have this like inclination to naturally put the horizon line here, like to the halfway point of the screen. So that's one of those things that you can have in your composition checklist, that when you put in your horizon line, make sure that at that point you know what the piece is about. Is it about the sky or is it about the ground? Because if you put it at halfway point, you haven't made a decision either way, and it's going to make the composition look not necessarily boring, because there are of course exceptions to this rule, like to every rule. They work both ways. But if your composition isn't about that specific halfway point of horizon line, then in that case avoid it and put it in a place that like enhances the story of your piece. CDL Cart is saying that would be awesome. Nico has a brush. I would say it's about time for a Mikko brush. There is a Mikko RAL in my brush set. It's named after the Mikko RAL brush. This one. I'm not gonna change brushes, but I fixed Mikko RAL because I didn't like the default texture, and I wanted to have more control over like getting those sort of like half tones. So those are pretty much the only things that I changed from Mikko RAL. In Mikko RAL you can get like softer brush strokes, and there's a slight variance to the texture when you press it lightly. So when doing, for example, this sort of stuff that I'm doing right now, it's almost impossible with a Mikko RAL brush to get this sort of like in-between tones to color pick. Which is great for blocking in, because that sort of like full opacity has its benefits. But for my style, that was always the thing that annoyed me, like, why can't I just get something to color pick from here? I think I have a different attitude to like phone wallpapers as most people, because when I changed this wallpaper to my phone, I had the previous phone wallpaper for years and years. I don't go through my different illustrations on my phone like most people do, that they change them like almost every week. If I have a picture that I have made for myself that I like to have on my phone, I will watch it for a really long time, and I don't get bored of it, weirdly. My iPad still has the same background screen that I've had for ever since I got my first iPad. It's probably like the second thing that I ever made on Procreate, and I don't like that picture any less now, so I don't see any reason why switch it. I think it's kind of working, this idea that I'm going for. I just need to make sure that I keep the number of layers low, because I think the appeal of a painting like this is the way that on the edges, those sort of paint strokes, they mix and blend together, which gives it this sort of like more physical feeling. Yukin is saying, where can I get that wallpaper for the phone? When they are all done, and I mean when all of them are done, I'm going to aim for a set of 20, but this is unique for this set. When they are done, I will release them on Gumroad. I'm gonna try and do that before Christmas, but I have a commission now, so I don't know about the timeline. I hope the commission goes well. I try to not commit to any extra deadlines lately, just so that I don't burn out. Yesterday I thought I'm going to be able to do this live stream, but I was doing all the taxes, and it kind of drained all of my energy to think anymore after that. In one of the live streams, somebody suggested that maybe I should start doing this sort of what is the extra mode that YouTube now offers for creators, that where you can have these sort of monthly subscriptions to different channels, memberships, that I should start doing live streams like that. I thought about it, but then I realized that it would be so dull to do these live streams if it was behind a paywall, and then I would have 1% of all the possible people watching me on live stream. It wouldn't be as fun for anybody, I think, if it was done like that. So if I ever do that sort of membership thing, then I'm gonna have to try and come up with something else, because I don't think it would be fun for me to do a live stream only for 2 people. It wouldn't be that motivating, because the point of all these live streams is to be able to talk to you guys, really, and hear what you are doing and what you are painting. That's really the reason why I'm doing this, because if I check my analytics from my previous live streams, I have had 5 new subscribers, so they're not a great source of views or subscribers. This is just something that is fun for me to do, and I think if I killed that with memberships, then I would lose that, and nobody would gain anything extra in it. And Pelle is saying, or is it Pelle? Because that means, Pelle means clown in Finnish. Watching on the PlayStation, typing on my phone, I love your art and style. Just found your channel a month ago. Thank you for guidance and inspiration. Thank you. I didn't even know that you can watch YouTube on PlayStation. I sometimes watch YouTube on Switch though, because I can carry it around the house. If I had endless amount of time, I would love to be playing that new Ubisoft game on PlayStation. But currently I've been completely, and I do mean completely, hooked on this Hyrule Warriors. I love it so much. I'm surprised how good it is. I have liked Musou games kind of like ironically for years now. It has always been this sort of like shameful enjoyment thing that I've had ever since Sengoku Basara series, but now after playing this Hyrule Warriors, I can say that I can like it. I don't have to like it like something that is trash but still fun. I think it's genuinely good, and the music is so amazing. Do you paint every day? If not, why not stream every day to attract more people fast? Yeah, like I said, that would probably add 5 new people in a month to subscribers, so that's not good enough reason for live streams. And also the logistics, I need to have like the perfect alignment of the stars, so I have enough time to do a live stream, that I can do art that I can show to you, that is not owned by some client that has bought that painting. Because pretty much all of my commissions, I can't show any of that stuff because it's all under NDAs. And then the queen of the house must be in a good mood. Now she's sleeping on the floor. But if the queen is not happy, then there will be no live streams. There will be probably like treats and walking around, but no live streaming. That's up to her. I don't want to say her name because then she will wake up and think that I'm talking about something that involves her attention. Thanks, Tristan. Dennis, just wanted to show my thanks as well. I watched all of the bits of your previous streams and I'm happy I finally caught you live. Yeah, sorry for making this so elusive. Maybe when my dog is older, then it's easier to plan stuff. But now she's kind of unpredictable and I'm kind of her full-time assistant. So she's the priority. I love you guys, but my dog is my priority. This is one of those paintings where I'm glad that I can share the screen on this live stream instead of filming the screen, because you would not be able to pick up the hue tones, like hue switches in those areas. If this was on camera, that is crunched to YouTube compression. Words are difficult today. Since my boyfriend left work this morning and he's working a night shift, I haven't talked a single sentence except to my dog all day. So speaking in any language would be difficult and is. So sorry about that. I don't live a very social life. Darwin is asking, hello Mikko, do you use a screen protector? No, never have. I don't like them. I think it makes it harder to paint. Also, have you changed your Apple Pencil tip? Never. Never. I don't think it wears at all. It's still good as new, and I have painted hundreds of paintings with this one. I don't see it like ever wearing. If you do have a death grip on your pencil, then I should suggest that you go into preferences and then edit pressure curve and switch this to something that will make you be able to take full advantage of the maximum and minimum sizes of the brushes or maximum and minimum opacity of the brushes without ever pressing it with your actual muscles into the screen. You should never need to use force when getting like the most out of your brush. Is it normal to feel nervous about starting to do digital art? Blinks is asking. Maybe excitement would be the better word for it. There's this great talk from Mel Robbins where she explains that feeling anxious is the exact same feeling as feeling excited. It's just about the mindset, but physiologically it's the same feeling. It's just you telling yourself how to perceive it, which can turn nervousness to excitement or vice versa. CDL Karchi is saying, I just started to paint digitally. I've been a professional traditional painter for about 18 years. How long did it take you to switch from traditional to digital painting, Mikko? Well, no time, since I was kind of doing both of them. Well, I was doing traditional painting first, but I started digital painting so young that I think it's reasonable to say that I did both of them while I was in the training phase. Digital painting is faster. So I love the fact that I don't have to wash my brushes, because I hated that. And especially since I've always had such a busy life, all of those like logistics, that's never enjoyed any of that stuff. Or spending minutes to find the right color by mixing. That stuff I don't miss. I know that a lot of traditional painters actually enjoy that part, and I wish I could be like that, but I'm just not. But there are different aspects that are difficult about digital painting, and it's more about the art scene. It's geared towards certain type of art, and for that I would recommend to be very careful of the art communities that you decide to join, to look at if they are right for you and the style of painting that you do. Because with traditional painting you kind of have a bit more freedom in the topics and the way that you paint, but there are still like weirdly conservative expectations on what a digital painting should look like. So I think I have run up against that a lot, especially since I know still so many traditional painters from my school days. I mean, they're nice people, but the rules that they have for what they can do, or what kind of expectations they are dealing with, they are different than what I have. Do I really have to try to pronounce that name? Come on. Frolz. Is that it? So Frolz is saying, I want to be able to draw outside and on the run. I also don't have a computer. Yeah, after I bought the iPad, like the Photoshop kind of like just, I left it behind me. And I do like Procreate more than Photoshop for digital painting, because in Photoshop you have all of that like clutter in the UI, and for some people they might like it, but Photoshop was made for photo editing and the UI is designed for that. So I don't like it for painting. But whenever I'm doing, like, for example, print editing, I do all of that stuff on Photoshop, and whenever I, for example, do my thumbnails for this channel, I do them on Photoshop. If you look at the thumbnail, for example, on my last video, the one with the island in it, that's 71 layers in Photoshop that I just made with a mouse. I don't even plug it in my tablet. I have two graphics tablets here, like one is Cintiq on the floor and one is Intuos 3. They're both nice tablets, but they're not iPad. The difference is like night and day. The difference is so big that I wouldn't like even consider switching to Cintiq instead of iPad, because the Wacom stylus is just so much worse, in my own personal opinion. from having the experience of having now used iPad for 4 years, I think, and Wacom tablets for at least 17 years, maybe longer. I think the difference is in prices. If you're just kind of like dabbling around with digital painting, I highly recommend like just using your phone to paint with your thumb. Like the entry level is pretty much €0 because you probably already have a phone and painting applications are so cheap. So I wouldn't recommend that anybody, no matter what you intend to go with later, that you, as the first thing, go out and buy the most expensive iPad or Wacom tablet. I start with pen and paper or something. Don't think that you need to invest a lot of money to start making art. Because if you put yourself into that mindset, then you will also come up with these excuses that like I can't start doing art yet because I don't have money to buy myself a tablet or iPad. I think that's nonsense. Because if you use excuses like that, you wouldn't have made any art anyway. Just be real. Horizon is so wonky. I'm gonna fix it later. No, actually, let's just do some actual straight lines. So I'm gonna go to Canvas, Drawing Assist, and just put the Drawing Assist on for one line. To have something to judge my other lines by, and then just trim out those extra scraps. Now I at least know where I need to aim the horizon line so that it makes sense. Does resizing something lose the quality of the age? I mean, I suppose you mean the quality of the painting. Yes, always when you scale up, you lose the quality. So always scale down if you need to scale something. So for example, sometimes I make elements like, for example, if I wanted to make a rock here, and my intention is to first do it in detail, then I would do a rock in this size, and then I would scale it down. But if I do this something like this and then scale it up, then it will look like a mess when it's bigger in size. Also, when scaling, be aware of these interpolation modes. Never use nearest neighbor for scaling something in a painting. Nearest neighbor you would use in a pixel art piece. And in a pixel art piece, you can scale up some things, but it has to be in the power of 2. So if you have 1 pixel, you can scale it up to 4 pixels and have it still be crisp. But always make sure that you do exact scaling in those situations. But it's very specific. But for painting, never scale up anything. Thank you, Devin Brown. Because of you and your videos, you've inspired me to get back into art. Yes, this channel has been worth it, if that is the case. I purchased a new iPad Pro and I am trying digital art for the first time and love it. Thank you for being you. Thank you. It just makes me really happy that somebody got back into art. I think that sentence implies that you were once doing art, but then somehow stopped doing it for some reason. And I understand that it happens sometimes. I think art is one of those things that people have this weird idea that you need to be good at it to have the right to do it at all. And we don't apply the same logic to anything else. You can start going to spinning classes for the first time when you're 40 and nobody expects you to be amazing at it. But when you start painting, a lot of people do this sort of like apologizing that like, yeah, I just started, so I'm terrible. But I like painting. Like, you don't have to make those excuses or be apologizing for something that you just started. And if somebody expects you to be like a master of something that you just started, that's their problem, it's not yours. I think it's especially weird with something like art when it's so obviously something that people do for a hobby. I mean, most people, when they say that I just started painting, you don't assume that they are about to quit their job and go into freelancing the next week. It's just something that they do now. Somebody said that I would love to see some more, I suppose that means more cyberpunk or sci-fi art by you. I just made science fiction art for this project last week. I was really happy with one of the space shots that I did for it. I don't know if I'm even allowed to say that, probably not. I made some assets for it that I can also use for my own art, so I will probably do that at some point. Kind of got suspicious if I'm on the wrong layer. How am I doing on time? 1 hour 17. Yeah, it's looking like a thing. I'm not panicking too badly. Oh, thank you, SPR Art. Your last video was so amazing. It inspired me to do some 3D art. Thank you. Sorry about not having more of the VR footage in that. I saw on Twitter that there's this one designer, industrial designer, who had done this progress video of their own VR 3D sketch. And they had a still camera angle, and after seeing that video I searched for ages on how to do that. I actually did the 3D plugin once, and when I saw that I tried to search for it and then I did it again. So when you see me doing the 3D plugin, I'm actually doing the same 3D plugin for the second time, and I have both of those on film. When the YouTube video starts, you see that the lighting changes because those first two shots are from the first attempt. But despite trying, I wasn't able to have a static camera angle, because in first person, if I time-lapse that and it's me just like looking around like this in sped up speed, everybody would just barf. It would be even like nauseating to edit footage like that. So I think it's a bit unusable, sadly. But VR blocking in is like surprisingly intuitive, and VR painting too in apps like Quill. I love Quill, and I guess Tilt Brush is okay too, but I don't like the lighting that they have on the brush strokes. I think it looks very plasticky, so I've only used Tilt Brush once, and once I saw the brush strokes I was like, no, I don't want more of this. But the painting apps on VR, like if you know how to paint in 2D, you will know how to paint in 3D like instantly once you understand what button does the brush stroke. It's so intuitive. I'm gonna now lock this layer, or at least do a clipping mask, and try to find right colors for this smaller brush shrub thingy. Super Octo is saying hello. I was just thinking of... no, I can't say that on live stream. Avalor, with a difficult name, is saying this piece and along with all your other artworks looks stunning. Landscapes have never been my thing, but looking at your art inspires me. How do you usually go about choosing colors? Well, I like using my palettes. I feel weird saying this because I have been doing digital paintings for so long that even though you have probably seen that on this channel I use a ton of palettes, this is something that I literally started doing only a few years ago. Most of my digital painting career I have not used palettes at all, but I just find it easy to get started when I can just start painting and then think about the colors later. I think the best way to use palettes like this is to use them in that first like 20-minute time window and then forget about it completely. I mean, this doesn't dictate how the colors in my painting are going to be anymore, and I think a good palette is something that you can take a screenshot out of, go into hue and saturation, and then just like slide this thing around when you look at your palette, and the colors should not break. They should be in harmony even though you make small changes in that hue slider. I don't know if that's really answering the question at all. It's just a weird side thing about palettes. Bell Marok is saying, hey Mikko, just wanna say, appreciate what you do, your advice and even your perspective on art and how to approach it. Also, are you still working on making painting composition course? Yes. I am also working with a school, so I'm not tied to the school in how my course is going, but for the school I have to go by their own rules on how they want the teaching to happen. But for whatever I do, I get to make all of the rules for that. So it's a huge motivation for me to finish it in my own way, because whenever I'm working with the schools there are these weird things that I like definitely don't agree with. Like for example, when I have second or third year students in the concept art course, oh, this is still assisted. Oof, hope that wasn't on for too long. When I'm working with second or third year students, I realized that like some of them have been taught this way of painting, that you start with a black and white painting and then you put it in color. And if you want to like have a reason for why this channel is Angry Mikko, that stuff like really makes me angry. I mean, like, those students are completely innocent and it's not their fault that some teacher has done this to them. But I think this is such a huge mistake to do, especially when it's not something that those students decide on their own based on their style. It's not wrong to paint that way, but if they are taught to paint that way and that is the way to do a digital painting, I think whoever is doing that part, like, they're just like robbing those students of an opportunity to use color in their own way and to stand out. And especially since that game school is here in Finland, it wouldn't matter if they were game school students from some sort of like country that is good for outsourcing, that is cheap to outsource. But if you're a digital artist in Finland, your unique creative expression it's literally all you have. So taking out one huge piece out of that, which is color, and making you use color the exact same way that most people online use color, it's taking one of like your great sales points from your product, and it's really hard to find work that way that can't be replaced by somebody in some other country that can do it for 500 euros cheaper. Yeah. this really annoys me, like, badly. Sometimes when people kind of like get angry about some ideas that I have about painting, by the way, I'm not telling anybody how to paint on my channel, that content is completely free, but that is one thing that always surprises me, that like, why pick something so random to get upset about when this one thing, how I feel about color and starting with a black and white painting, is so triggering. Like, pick that one. Like, if you need to like write me hate mail, write hate mail about that, because then I can at least understand how you could make like valid arguments against it. But I'm not budging on that opinion. I think if you want to learn how to paint with color, you have to paint with color. You can't have it both ways. You can always check your values at any point of the process. So many comments that I'm trying to read all of them, I'm sorry. Do you have any tops, I assume tips, for young artists who want to become professionals in the future? Paint a lot of art. I do mean it when I say that volume solves all problems. And there's this great study on volume and creative work when on one photography course an art teacher had the opportunity to score students, half of the class based on limited amount of assignments, and the other half got score for the course based only on the volume. And the part of the students that just took tons and tons and tons of photos because they wanted to have a really good grade on that course, they improved way faster than the people who were spending all their time on just few shots that they wanted to be perfect. And I think that definitely applies to painting. And by that I don't mean that you should do speed paintings, because that doesn't help you paint at all. But I recommend that you paint just like finished pieces and limit the scope of the paintings to reasonable subjects. When students like start paintings that are just like way too big in scope, like for example, I did that top-down painting of a garden in the sky. That's not a painting that I would suggest for a beginner. Top-down angle is really hard to do, and it has so many details and elements that it's not wise to start from something like that. If a beginner started to do, like for example, a flying airship, I would pick the side angle first and a distant camera angle, and it's those elements that kind of like lower the bar into like what kind of visual problems you want to solve with a single painting, because you don't want to throw all the problems to a beginning student in the beginning. And I do think that it's important to solve those problems on your own. So I don't think learning art is just replicating what some other artist is doing. It's about being okay with finding out answers to those visual problems that are in your painting, because every painting, even today for me, every painting has their own unique problems, and learning painting is learning that problem solving, and you will always have to do it. That kind of stress won't go away. It's not going to get easier. And I think that's the hardest part to explain. I always say to other teachers that I'm not trying to teach my students to paint, I'm trying to teach them to fail, because that's way more valuable in their life. And that will make them great painters, when they can do bad paintings and then keep working. Because the volume will be the thing that will decide how far you get, especially if you want to be a person who does that for a living someday. Then you will do tons and tons and tons of paintings that just turn out bad or don't get any traction online, and you will have to paint regardless. Especially when you're in a studio environment and you do a bad painting, you kind of can't get upset about it. So I think I'm not a speedrunner by any means, but I just know this one game tester that is amazing at Twitch shooters. He's not a game tester anymore because he became like multi-millionaire with his weird super autistic skills. He explained to me that like to get good at speed running, you have to get good at failure. That like speedrunners try the same level over and over again, and they don't react to the failures emotionally. They just start over and over again. And then I kind of understood it, and I said that like, now I get it. It's like painting. It's like art. Somebody's saying, Bogart, I'm watching you from Portland, Oregon. I don't know if I can say this cup is from Oregon. I think it's a beautiful place. Especially Portland. You have that amazing mountain too. I wish I could come back someday and paint it. Magic the Gathering recently used Bob Ross art for some land cards. Really? Did they pay for a license to the foundation or something? Is that legal? What is your opinion on Bob Ross's art? I love the motivational aspect of Bob Ross, and I have sometimes said on this channel that when people say that like you're like the Bob Ross of digital painting, that I disagree. Because I think Bob Ross's main message is that when he does a painting in like 30 minutes, that painting is easy. And I'm pretty clear about like saying over and over again that I don't think painting is easy. It's still not easy to me. And if you start painting thinking it's going to be easy, it's only going to be like upsetting experience. Because that's not what painting is. So if you're not prepared for the challenge, you won't be able to enjoy it, because you have to also enjoy the challenging aspects of art. I think this layer has some like very unfortunate overlap with the background. I hate it when I do stuff like this. Oof. And now I'm in add mode, so I'm gonna add this other side as well. Just wasn't thinking. What do I now do about this? Cut. Sorry, I just completely destroyed that one area. I love watching Bob Ross videos. I think it would be fun challenge to do a Bob Ross tutorial and then I paint what is in that tutorial. But I'm not a big fan of tutorials or following anyone's painting, so I think it would be fun to do it in a way that I record the audio of a random Bob Ross tutorial and then I do a painting based on it, because then I wouldn't feel like I'm just repeating someone's painting, because I don't see any point in that. Especially since Bob Ross has such a recognizable style. It would be just weird if I tried to like mimic that in any way. Great work as always, Mikko. Do you often just use one single brush? Pros and cons? Well, it's just faster when you don't have to think about what brush am I going to use for this or that area. Then I don't have to keep making those decisions when I have just a single brush. Also, if you're studying art, I think it's much easier to learn to use brush strokes, because they are way more important than whatever brush that you're using. Do you have any holiday traditions that your family does, or a specific thing that you always do during holiday? Well, I usually visit my sister, but this year I won't be able to do it because of the pandemic. But even if the situation wasn't happening, I think even then I would probably not be able to go, because the Queen hasn't been in the car for that amount of time. So I think she would feel anxious being stuck in a car for that long of a car ride. Maybe when she's older, but we have tried getting her used to like being in a car. But only for short amounts of time, and she kind of panics. Sid is saying Bob Ross always says happy clouds, although his clouds look very depressed. I don't think Bob Ross's clouds look depressed. I think his clouds look amazing. I guess it depends on how you see the picture though. My dog is scratching herself next to a door that is making that sound, so I thought something is blowing up. Okay, I can see that I'm now not making like big enough decisions here, so I need to try to see if I can like punch these colors of the nearby islands a bit more. Somebody said it sounded like a washing machine. That's what I thought too. I was like, did I put the washing machine on? I don't remember doing laundry before starting a live stream. What was I thinking? It's just a dog. What's your brush pressure set to? I don't really understand what that means. Sorry. Well, opacity is here. So this is 0 opacity and this is 100% opacity. For the duration that you have been watching this stream, I have been painting with 100% opacity like I usually do. this is a bit risky to do because the tone is so desaturated and low in values. But maybe I can use this just to find a bit more tones for the upper part of it. For the upper part of the trees here. This is definitely too saturated for what I'm looking for. The beast is awake, she's moving around, so I don't have much time, but I don't know, I'm pretty happy with the way that it's going so far. It looks like a painting. I'm always like, that's the bare minimum, I guess, but I'm always surprised by how a painting just turns out to look like something during a live stream. And whenever I start this, I always feel this sort of like fear that like, what if it will just be a complete disaster, that people will watch me paint for 3 hours and then I have nothing at the end of it. So that's my starting point. So when I have something that looks like a painting, like I do think that this looks like a painting now, then I just feel like, oh yes, that's enough. At least it's not a disaster. And I will add this to my wallpaper pack when it's done. I'm happy to have at least one painting that is like 100% made for that specific purpose. So that I have this composition to think about right in the very beginning. For me, if you mean pressure opacity as opposed to like normal brush opacity, I did that one video on color picking, how to paint faster, and there I explained that most of my brushes, including this brush, I have opacity. I'm gonna show it on a separate layer so I don't have to accidentally trash the painting. Let's use like a super obvious color. So as you can see, this is 100% opacity brush. It doesn't have a lot of like pressure opacity, even though I changed the pressure on that brush stroke. But if I paint sideways with the stylus, I can get these sort of like low opacity things. That way I will never accidentally have this sort of like low opacity brush strokes when I'm painting without intending to do that. But usually when I'm painting, I tilt the brush sideways and then I use the color picker for these areas when I want to pick a mid-tone, and then I go back by double tapping the screen. So I don't leave those there, because those are rarely the right colors to use for those transitions when I'm blending the colors, but they are just a mixing tool to find those midtones, if that helps answering that question. And right now it might look like this has a lot of like transparency, but this is a lighter layer, so it only paints on those areas that are darker than this color that I have picked. Other areas it will just ignore. Because this is the edge of the painting, I don't want it to have too much high contrast brush strokes, so I'm kind of telling the viewer that the painting is over when the eye wanders off into this area. Nothing to see in here. Actually, I hate that tone, so screw that thing. That's much better. Just a second, I will have to like let the dog out for a second. Oot kiltisti vähän aikaa, mennään sitten ulos. Saat iltapalaakin sitten. Oot tähän aikaan kiltisti. Mikko maalaa. She's looking at me like she needs instant attention and care and service. My plan for the evening is to watch this Independence Day TV show. Because of the restrictions here in Finland, we are not going to have a normal Independence Day celebration. Usually the most watched TV show in Finland for the whole year, every year, is this Independence Day party, where all the famous people in Finland go and shake hands with the president, and it takes hours and hours for the president to shake people's hands, and that's the main entertainment. So now it has been replaced with something different, because obviously it's a bad year for public handshaking at mass scale. So I don't know what they do. But since I'm alone with Vivi today, we're gonna watch that on TV. Maybe it has already started. No, her name is Vivi, but I'm trying not to say too much because that will like activate her like a turning on switch if I keep repeating her name again and again. Because I'm gonna take her out for a walk soon. I don't want her to be too excited about it yet. Also, she's a Welsh cardigan corgi, so Queen seems to be fitting. We've been watching The Crown lately. I love the TV show. Yeah, that means that I really have to go out in a second, or otherwise I will be mopping the floor for the rest of the night. I think this painting is going to need like color edits and something fancy for the foreground, and then it will be done. I don't want to like overpaint the background too much because I kind of like that painterly look in it, but this like small shrub in the foreground that is not a full tree, that still needs like work shape wise. Okay, thank you everybody for joining. Please don't lick my entire face, come on. I will see you guys in the next live stream or video or online on Instagram or Twitter. I have links in the description below. Okay, she is very big. She's chunky and heavy. Okay, see you guys later. Bye.